Hey there, Laker fans. Welcome to another episode of Lakers Detailed. Postgame. Lakers just beat the Clippers. A huge game. Rivalry, Battle of LA, whatever you want to call it. It was a huge game. Lakers break a losing streak. I think a 4-game losing streak that we were going through. And
Yeah,
Raj, I am overwhelmed with emotion because this is one of the best games they played in like a month, like end to
yeah,
end. Guys doing what they're supposed to do. Defense was fantastic. All of that sort of stuff. I I hope you're doing well. We love the small talk.
yeah,
We were down from the last game that we watched, and they had a disappointing finish to the Memphis game. Everything looked like it was falling off a cliff. And Darvin Ham's giving crazy post game quotes. Everybody's
mhm,
livid and angry, and it felt like this game, if we lose it in embarrassing fashion, was a nail in the coffin moment. And the Lakers won, and there's a lot of kudos to go around. Um,
yeah.
how are you doing? How are you feeling? What is your reaction to this win, dude? What did you see initially
You know
off
what's
rip?
so before we get all into that, like when the Lakers are bad, Vinay, I always like try to find like what helps me a lot is just going to hoop, like for real, like
Yeah.
going to like my LA Fitness is where I play ball, and like I usually like to play on Sundays because Sundays is where the I call it like the serious hoopers play, like in
Oh
terms of
yeah, yeah.
not serious in terms of the better talent, because like the young guys actually are more talented, but they play a brand of hoop where it's like they're shooting half court threes and like there's not a lot of like ball movement going around. And Sunday mornings it's a lot more of a like, yeah, let's play some team basketball to win it. That really kind of gets me a little bit more relaxed and playing free. The Clippers and Lakers, I feel like just can't play a normal basketball game. Like it's
Never.
always some crazy last minute stretch. And this win is great. This is awesome. It's just like it feels so hollow with the week we just had. I mean, like I feel like I should be a little bit more excited about it, but I mean, like you put this in context of the Miami loss, the Memphis loss, um, like you said, people living and dying off. It's not a great thing when everyone lives in like living off of every word your coaches says. I mean, like usually that's just media talk, and but like fans are kind of living off everything Darvin Ham says. But no, this was a fun game. This was a engaged LeBron, and I will get into kind of the specifics of that. But like engaged LeBron, I thought AD was awesome. The Clippers kind of present different issues, but they also give some advantages that LeBron likes. Like he likes to zoom matchup and stuff
Hmm.
like that. But overall, I thought like this was one of our better games. I thought this was a good process game. I thought Darvin coached like a really good game for like 90% of this game before the fourth quarter, where some things just went awry in terms of the lineups and stuff we were doing. The no timeout after the Clippers went on like an 11-0 run, which I
Hmm.
thought was strange. But overall, like this was a really good win. It's just it moves you to 18 and 19, Vinay. And like that's the part that I have a tough time like getting fully invested and like season turning around win. And D'Lo obviously came back tonight, which we'll to get into as well, which I think helped. But that's where I'm at with it. Are you kind of on that wavelength as well? I still put this win in terms of the context of how the team has played through the week, where the team they've been through that week is still to me more of who they are, or other than like this team tonight. But this is definitely a good like step in that direction for sure. Where are you at with that?
Yeah, I want to say like this, bro. Look, we have watched up until this slide that we've had. Like you and I were both very adamant, and I would say that anybody that talked to us during this time span, like was like we were adamant that this team that we're watching that's playing this poorly is not the team that like we have watched like during this
Yeah,
bad stretch. And I was just like, at some point there has to be something. And I remember I posed you the question, like, what is what is high stakes to these dudes? Because like a cash prize is high stakes to them, and like
mm,
stuff like that is high stakes for them. So for me, it was just like, what is high stakes for these guys? And like the way they played this game against a team that's a contender. Like I know a lot of people are gonna be like,
yeah,
"Oh yeah, the Clippers are fake contenders." No, they were the hottest team in the NBA. They were demolishing teams, and like they just recently went into New Orleans and just beat the crap out of them. I think they whooped on the Suns too. I think the Suns may have been missing Kevin Durant, but they're a team that's like very good. And whatever people think about Harden and where he's at in his career, they got him for a bag of chips, and he's just made them much, much better, and everybody's slotted better. This is a very high quality win for the Lakers. Like
Yeah.
I and this is, I mean, like of course we would have rather beaten Memphis and then also won this game, or won the Miami game and the Memphis game and lost this game. We would have been all right with that. Like I'm sure Laker fans would have taken it which way. But like even then, to win this game, I don't care that Norman Powell missed the potential game tying three. Like none of that means anything to me. Like just get the wins, stack your wins now, so that by the time the All-Star break comes by, we're not chasing those wins in the second half. Raj, we are 2-0 against another division rival. This is the second game we played against the Clippers, and we won it. We played the Suns. We win the tiebreaker against them. We have yet to play the Warriors. These are all important games. We said this at the beginning of the season. Division games matter. You have to win those games because you never know what's going to happen. You see how tightly packed the Western Conference is. Those division games are going to matter. It's a quality win, dude. This is the team I think they are. Honestly, like that's how I feel about this team. This is more indicative of what they are versus the nonsense we've seen over the past couple of games.
Yeah,
I know that's it is what it is, but go for it.
No, for sure. Like on your Clippers point, like I would argue they're playing the best basketball in the league. Like they just are. They've had like one bad loss, which was to Oklahoma City. Kawhi didn't even play that game. They've won I think 18 out of 21 coming into tonight. Paul George, Kawhi, and Harden have really found like a magic kind of elixir of how they want to play offense. The Harden Zoo pick and roll has really gone well for them. They know the actions they're gonna run. They have great isolations. Russ comes off the bench and he kind of struggled tonight, but gives them like good energy off the bench. Norm Powell, I thought Max Christie, Vinay just locked up Norm Powell in a way. Like Norm would cook us, and we saw that, right? I think Max came out in like 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. We were up 10. Max comes out, Wood comes out, and we go to that Austin D'Lo Taurean unit. And Norm just got cooking, went off in the fourth quarter. But no, for sure. Like again, I think the tough part for me, Vinay, like you said they're more indicative of this team, and I agree in like a playoff setting. The Clippers have Kawhi and Paul George on the other side, and those are two guys where I think you can't not be engaged defensively. Like those are two guys who will embarrass you if that's the case. You know what I mean? Like in terms of their production. And so we got like an engaged. I thought LeBron was super engaged defensively tonight. And his offense too. We'll get into that. But I thought defensively, getting strips, rotating every time, moving his feet with Kawhi, and then AD on Paul George, like the three stops on him, the one on the top of the key, the drive that he caught, he caught him on the backboard, and the turnover, I think, where he like dove on the floor. AD was awesome tonight. So I hope this is more indicative. I just like there's some stuff tonight where can we get this defensive effort every single night? Is that a consistent thing that you can get on a night to night basis? I'm not sure, but like playoff level for sure. And I thought the rotations been much better tonight. I really like Max. I like Christian Wood within this rotation. I thought they both gave like rebounding and toughness that this team needed. But you're right. No, this is a big win. We're 2-0 against the Clippers, which is crazy. Clippers beat us like 3 million times in a row coming into the season. You get 2 wins on them, and I think there's good process stuff to take from it. I thought Austin got going. I think D'Lo off the bench is a nice mix into it too. But no, good win. Clippers are playing extremely well. I thought Paul George came to play. They kind of sleepwalked a little bit in the first quarter, but after that, I thought the Clippers and Lakers were both locked in. And this is the team you can be if you just beat those freaking bad teams, Vinay. You're in that upper west or the Western Conference, and this win means that much more. But it's definitely a good kind of starter to kind of get you going with all these home games coming for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm on board with you all the way. I think you've already covered a lot of the smaller, like nicely covered all these different bullet points of guys who are just fantastic. So let's get into the details because that's what we're about. We care about the individual game within the game stuff that's super huge. First and foremost, we should give credit to LeBron James because the Clippers' strategy to start this game was to literally make him do everything on offense. It's not like the Lakers were incapable of doing it. Terrence Mann was face guarding Austin Reeves from the start of the game. They literally did not want any offense to be run by the off-ball guard. So they didn't want D'Lo running the offense. They didn't want Austin running the offense. Obviously, Lakers don't really have outside options outside of that for them to really do it. So they wanted Bron. And it's Ty Lue, whatever you think of him as a coach, he understands the game within a game. And I think they wanted to make sure that they could tire Bron out so that he wouldn't have
Yeah.
legs in the fourth quarter. And we'll get to that fourth quarter because I feel like the Lakers actually recognized what was happening and went to that Austin AD pick and roll action that, again, AD delivered on so many of those plays.
Oh
But
man.
prior to that, Braun was fantastic on offense today, like and defense. And I'm not, so I don't want to just say one or the other, but I just want to talk about his offense. He was phenomenal on offense today, and one of the
Mhm.
things that he was doing was working that mid-range area to his spots because that's what the Clippers wanted him to take. So he just went and took it. Like he had two, I want to say fadeaway, fall away sort of jumpers from the mid-range on the left hand side block with a live dribble against Zubac because Zubac wouldn't come out of the paint. He was thinking that Braun would attack the rim, and Braun drained it twice. And he was so good today. And then on top of that, there was portions of this game where Vando was camped out in the middle of the paint, and they were basically
Yeah.
sending a double team to Braun. But Braun would throw a skip pass past Vando to the open three guy, and our role players knocked down their threes today. Christian Wood hit one, D'Lo hit one. I want to say Taurean Prince hit one. So them knocking down those threes. So it's like rewarding that excellent vision that Braun has. I thought he started off the game a little rough, trying to force passes to AD, with the turnovers and stuff like that. But the Lakers defense kept
Yeah.
them in the game, which was fine. But I thought he played a phenomenal game. Talk to me about what you saw from him, like just
Oof.
this
Yeah.
game so far. Because I think honestly, this is probably the best Braun game I want to say we've seen over the past maybe 8 games. Like I would say, like I think this is the
Yeah.
cleanest, like the nicest game that we've seen out of him.
Last 2 weeks, for sure. Also, you didn't mention the dunk on Paul George,
Oh my
like in
god,
transition.
dude. Oh, oh,
39-year-old LeBron going up and extending out to dunk. No, I think you put it best when you tweeted out like he dissected the Clippers defense tonight. Like every single pick and roll, the skip passes. I thought like he found Vando too sometimes in that middle of the floor area where Vando's just gonna have to look at the rim once in a while. But like he was playmaking from that spot, which is fine. Tonight. No, I thought LeBron was awesome. His jumper was going. His first shot of the game was like a jab step three over Paul George. I think it was. He was getting to the rim a little bit as well. Didn't get to the line as much as I think he thought he should, but got some reverse layups. And the Clippers, like they always try to take AD away as well. Like they
yeah,
don't let AD play one-on-one basketball at all. They don't let him kind of attack in the post very often. But what happened was LeBron got going, like off the pick and roll you talked about. They trapped Austin as well, right? Austin had a few turnovers, some like, and this is a bad matchup for Austin in my opinion, Vinay, where like it's just too many big wings. There's no guard for him to
yeah.
really pick on. All those dudes are just huge and not really guys you can like get off you in terms of giving back pressure and stuff like that. But no, LeBron was just cooking off the pick and roll. This is a team that we can like run LeBron AD pick and rolls against, like because they don't like to switch Zoo onto LeBron, and
Yeah.
he loves the Zoo matchup, and he cooked that as well. But no, LeBron was awesome, man. Like I don't, that's the part that's tough for me too. Like LeBron was what like 14 for 20 or something, like
Yeah.
super efficient, just barely missed any shots. Jumper was going, the fadeaway jumper was going right to kind of ice the game, put us up 5. The little drifting shot to the left, and like I liked our process too, like being able to like kind of spam the pick and roll actions, clear a side for him, know where the doubles are coming from. And he was cooking. 14 for 20, had an awesome game, and he gets up, Vinay, against Ty Lue. Like that's just like he just gets up for like games against the Clippers and games against
Mhm.
Ty Lue. So I thought he would have a great scoring night. No, he carried the offense for a lot of stretches, and AD kind of took it home, which I thought our role players gave us enough to where the Stars should take it home in the fourth, and that's what they did. LeBron and AD kind of ISO'd, and AD pick and pop jumpers, but LeBron was awesome on both ends, man. And let me ask you, is this like I was thinking about this during the game, like is this like matchup dependent, like because it was Kawhi and PG on the other end that like you saw a little bit more of an engaged LeBron, or is that just the Clippers, or like where like why do you see it tonight and maybe not enough against like Miami or Memphis? You know what I mean? I'm wondering, is the Clippers kind of personnel kind of funding that kind of, I'm not saying he has to do this every night, but I'm saying like this it obviously makes a difference against a team like the Clippers when he's like disengaged and this kind of good on the defensive end.
I'll say this: the last time we played the Clippers, Kawhi came out and started shooting our faces off the first
Yeah.
time around, and we had to make a late push in the second half to win that game. And I wonder if Braun was like, Okay, I mean, because they'll probably watch some tape from the previous game to see if there's anything scouted. Then Bron has got a very good memory. Like I think even he probably realized, like, look, whether my shot's going in or not, like I can't just let Kawhi get whatever shots he wants. Dude, there was a
Yeah.
play where I think the end of the play ended up going. It ended up being like a hammer action style pass to Kawhi in the left corner, and Braun rotated from the low block all the way over to Kawhi
Mm.
because that's his rotation. It was his man. He tagged the roller and then recover back. And Braun did it, and he closed out, perfect timing, gets right on the shooting hand, the shooting side of Kawhi's jumper. Kawhi ends up missing the jumper, and Braun correctly like presses it in a way where Kawhi has to use like all upper body, can't really use his lower body because that's kind of the kind of shooter he is. And Kawhi shorts it. And when he did that, like I'll tell you, like when Braun made that rotation, was when I was just
Mhm.
like, oh, the Lakers might win this game. Like
Yeah.
and this is not to say that like Braun isn't a good defender, but like we talked a little bit about how selective he is defensively, understandably so, because
The
he's trying to
age,
keep
yeah.
himself healthy for these games. That's why we also get mad at Ham for not playing certain guys instead of other guys, so that way Braun can preserve himself. But him being locked in defensively, it's a very, very different team. Obviously, we don't want him to have to do that so much against the Miamis and the Memphises. But I think teams have also recognized, when we played the Rockets, Dylan Brooks, this is a while back, Dylan Brooks came out and said, we want to make Braun work. Like, we want him to get into fourth quarter mode early. That's the Rockets' entire strategy. I think that's Ty Lue's strategy, too. Make
Mm.
Braun have to go into fourth quarter mode so the Lakers can't rely on him. And I thought Braun did a great job, like offensively, defensively, and then him being engaged on defense is I genuinely think that's literally the difference between us winning this game and losing this game. Because if he doesn't
Yeah.
make that rotation, Kawhi gets an open three, and we know that an open three, Kawhi's gonna, very rare that he misses open threes like that. And I'll add one more thing. It's not only that; it's his Braun's rebounding was also fantastic too as well. Like
Yep.
he was
Yep.
crashing the glass. He was doing that thing that like Westbrook used to do in OKC or Jokic does right now for the Nuggets, where he catches the rebound on the run. So he doesn't catch the rebound, stop, and slowly dribble the ball up the floor. Like he's catching it and he's like automatically running because he's already got the
Yeah.
momentum going up the court. And that puts pressure on the transition defense too as well. Because it's not like the Clippers are a super young team themselves, right? Like they've got older
Yeah.
guys too, and they're on a back to they're about to be on a back to back. They got to play tomorrow too as well. So they're probably trying to preserve their legs. So I think small stuff like that, like him being engaged defensively the way he was, him pushing the ball in transition, because obviously he's clearly with the dunk on Paul George, still a force to be reckoned with when he's
Yeah.
out in transition. You can't just let him go up and down. So it's just like just stuff like that. I know in the grand scheme of things, it seems so small, but those small things make such a huge difference. And tell
Yeah.
me if I'm wrong. This was the first game in a while where it felt like the role players knew what they needed to do to help this team win the game defensively
Yep.
and obviously knocking down their shots. It felt like they were more comfortable because our two big dogs were going the way that we expect them to go.
No, 100%. And I think, just to connect another guy to this, I think D'Lo coming back kind of helped just
Huge.
some of the like
Yeah.
rotations, right? And just having another ball handler out there that can kind of run the offense. And I thought that just put everyone in their right spots. Cam again just had a tough, like just offensive night. I mean, I think he's
Yeah.
just in his head a little bit. Had a big three, like had a big transition three to kind of put us up by three. But I thought just he's just having a tough time. But no, I think like D'Lo coming back and just having our rotations right and just having guys like being in the right position. Austin kind of struggled too against the Clippers, but this is me like to me, Vinay, this is like the way to go. This is the process that's correct for this team. Playing a bunch of wings, playing size. I just think Max Christie has to play. Like I think he's just part of this like team where like they're super realized versions of themselves. I think has him in it. I thought Christian Wood, you talked about LeBron's rebounding. I thought Christian Wood's rebounding was big time for this team. I think he helped like keep Zoo off the boards as well, helping LeBron, helping AD on the glass. And that's the part of this that's interesting, right? I think Ham is like this conversation that we're having about LeBron. I think Ham is having these same conversations where like, how do we kind of help LeBron kind of, take care of himself through a regular season, but also be able to exert enough energy on both ends to kind of help us win games. And I think he's kind of gone to extreme spectrums on both of them, right? Like, so first we started, let's take away the offensive kind of burden on him. We'll start Austin, we'll start D'Lo, we'll play
Yeah.
Taurean and go full offense. That didn't work, right? All right, now we're leaning fully into our defense. We're putting all the offensive pressure on LeBron. Let's start.
Yeah.
We're starting Taurean, we're starting Cam Reddish, we're starting Rui next to LeBron and AD. No other guards, and I think there's a middle ground there that this team can kind of live in, to where like it doesn't have to be all or nothing. I think that's where this team's at its best. By the way, Vinay, D'Lo back tonight. Austin's still starting, which is kind of interesting to me. So like both of
Interesting.
those guys. So it looks like that's kind of the way to go. And I think D'Lo off the bench just works a little bit better. I like him as the backup point guard, I guess, in that second unit. But I think that's where this team is kind of at its best. And we saw, I thought, the fruit of that. I thought Vando came in at, as much as he doesn't look at the rim, was awesome on Paul George. I thought Cam
Mhm.
Reddish did an awesome job as well, kind of mirroring Paul George, staying with Kawhi defensively. I think that's why the team looked better. I thought the process was good. The first quarter was like a 2006 score. It was like
Oh yeah.
21 to 6. It was like 21 to 16. And it wasn't because like it was bad offense, it was good defense. Like, sometimes it's just teams missing open shots. I thought both teams' defense was really solid. The Clippers went up 9 and it felt like, uh-oh, like they might run away with it. But the
Yeah.
Lakers kind of settled down, settled into their defense, and got going. But no, this was a really, really solid win, man. And I hope they can kind of build on it. You can't win this game, Vinay, and then lose to Toronto. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you got to build off this one.
Yeah.
But this is definitely
And
definitely a good head start.
yeah, and we definitely can't take Toronto lightly because they just beat the
No,
crap
for
out of
sure.
I think the Warriors too themselves. So and they've got RJ Barrett, they've got a couple new guys on that team. So the scouting report's kind of still inconsistent,
Yep.
probably unfulfilled. Raj, talk to me about that fourth quarter with AD because there was a one possession game. The
Oof.
Lakers, I think they get a stop, and obviously his defense is fantastic. There's at least four different possessions, like you said, the three on Paul George. There's one on Kawhi, if I remember correctly. There's probably four possessions where he just basically stonewalled, like in like real pure ISO basketball fashion, just completely stonewalled their best two
Oof.
players and force bad shots or turnovers. But talk to me about, bro, his jumper looked so
Bro.
good today that so like I think at the end, towards the end of the game, Braun was actually sitting in the corner, the left corner, and they were letting Austin and AD
Yeah.
run the pick and roll. And the only reason they were running the pick and roll was so that they could because they knew Zoo wasn't going to press on AD's jumper.
Yep.
And AD, he makes the first one. I think he misses the second one. But even if you rewind it a little bit farther back from that, I think it's a 1 point game. AD gets it in the right hand side posts up
Yes.
Zubac, hits a
Hook shot.
turnaround hook on him. It looks so good, dude. Talk to me about like, we've said it before. His jumper comes back, it's a completely different AD. But dude, if his jumper comes back, our offense is completely different in how it can hurt
Yeah.
you. And so talk to me about that. What you've seen with AD in
Yeah.
this game.
So I think this is AD's best stretch of basketball for the Lakers, in my opinion. Just even with the title run, obviously the bubble was kind of shooting centric, but I just think overall, I think his play has been, this is the best stretch of his Laker, at least regular season career. But he was 10 for 15 tonight, like 22 points, 10
Crazy.
rebounds.
Yeah.
And I thought in the fourth, and so this is what the Clippers do, though, right? Like the Clippers aren't going to let you. Like this is why I think he struggled in the past against the Clippers, because they're going to concede jump shots in a way that's not conventional, right? So they concede a lot of open kind of pick and pop jump shots, and it like even the pick and pop, but ain't to the free throw line, that changes everything. Like that just changes everything about how they have to guard you, how they have to respect you, how they have to guard you defensively. And you're right, they just put the ball in Austin's hands, little left to right pick and roll, and a little pocket pass to AD, and he was nailing those jumpers. And then the hook shot. In my opinion, like you don't get to that hook shot without the mid range jump shot. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like those two are connected. You don't get the hook shot fade without the confidence to take the mid range pull ups, because your offensive like confidence and rhythm just isn't there. But he was awesome. And then you go on the defensive end, the two possessions on Paul George, isolation, 1-on-1 through the
Amazing.
legs. Paul George
Dude, that
loses
is
it,
so good.
and
Go
then
ahead.
Paul George drives on him. He catches it on the backboard, and it goes off of Paul George. That's just like defensive player of the year stuff. And man, I really hope we get like this turned around in like a meaningful way, a top four kind of seed or whatever, so that AD can kind of get his just due. Like you're just not gonna get your due at the 10th seed. Like it's just not gonna come. But he's been amazing and incredible, and you could argue he was the best player in that fourth quarter with a lot of other
Yeah,
superstar guys on the floor, and just changes how you can do things, man. And like he was, I wish we help him on the boards a little bit. Zoo was just so physical inside, and
yeah,
like he got some tip outs and stuff like that. But AD was boxing him out, and just like he has so much freaking responsibility on that end, and able to do that while also putting up 22 on the other end. It's just he's special, man. That was a special performance from him again.
yeah, yeah. The thing I will say is that I think what you mentioned about like the Clippers trying to take 80 out of the game, like I think that was also part of
Hmm.
that was why they were trying to make sure Austin didn't get to run the pick and roll, or like Braun had to run his pick and roll as opposed to Austin running the pick and roll, because when it's Braun and AD running pick and roll, they can just kind of switch that action. There's not that
Hmm.
much room in terms of like passing lane and stuff like that to make those passes to AD. Whereas Austin's smaller player, guy guarding him is smaller too as well. AD screen wipes Austin's guy out a little bit more, and they can create that action. So regardless of what it was, I think AD was fantastic in the fourth quarter. Yeah, I would agree with you. Like you could argue that he brought us home. Like when that game got
Yeah,
really tight, it's what I think Braun expects out of him. I think that's what Laker fans expect out of him. I thought just there's a lot of a few other pocket moments. So before we get to like these little pocket moments, because these were like huge inflection points where I feel like our emotional state was like either pure
oh my
panic
god,
or
man.
happiness. But before we get to that, I want to talk about another steady force for the Lakers. Max Christie. You mentioned him initially when you did your initial breakdown, just kind of everything.
Man.
Max was basically his assignment was very clearly Norm Powell. He was shadowing Norm Powell's minutes outside of the very end of the game, and Max was ready for every single thing that Norm Powell tried to do. And
Yes.
I thought, and he even had a play where he was defending, I think Harden, where I want to say Harden tried to draw a foul or something like that on him, was unable to, ends up being a turnover or something. But he was absolutely fantastic today defensively. And he actually gave the Lakers some utility. Like another game where Max goes and dunks the ball in traffic. Like another game where Max will drive on three players and attempt a layup as opposed to just settling for whatever shot the defense wants to get him. Like he got blocked by Kawhi on one of
Yeah.
them, but Kawhi has to come help because if he doesn't, he's scoring that layup on James Harden. And this report came out earlier today from Jake Fisher about agents calling and I don't know the
Oh,
validity
right.
of it, but he's a reputable writer, so we'll give airtime to the conversation. There was a thing about agents who rep some of the Laker players complaining to the organization about their the minutes and the roles and stuff like that. And
Mm.
now I'm not saying Max is one of those guys, but you and I both specifically said way before the season started that the number one training camp battle that we were going to see on this Laker team was going to be Cam Reddish versus Max Christie. And
Yeah.
I want to say like the minutes were I don't have the box score in front of me. I want to say the minutes were probably even between Max and Cam, and maybe leaning a little bit more towards Cam because of that last shift. But Max has got to play, dude. He's giving us offensive utility now. They're not running plays for him. He's not doing too many catch and shoot situations. And if he's not comfortable taking the catch and shoot situation, he attacks the rim and he attacks it with force. And sometimes it doesn't look good because he gets blocked or whatever it is, but sometimes it looks good. And in the flow of things, the
Yeah.
Lakers need those kinds of players. And, I would say that his offensive utility is much higher than Cam's right now. Cam is, again, dude, we had a play where he caught the ball. Nobody is near him. He's dribbling to the rim and he just loses it. I don't know what it is
Yeah.
that's going on with him. Might be in his head, whatever it may be. But Cam gave us some really great defensive minutes too as well. So I'm not going to say that. Had two humongous threes that initially pushed us up in the
Yep.
third quarter. But we've got to find a balance, dude. And I want to take this second because I know you and I are high on Max. I want
Yeah.
you to talk to me about Max and how what does it
Man.
look like? How do we get him more minutes with this team? Is he
So
Cam Reddish's direct sub? Is that what we have to
so
do now at this point?
so it's funny. I agreed with you when you said like the minutes were even. They actually like it felt like they were even because Max's I think impact just felt
Yeah,
so. But Max played 12 minutes tonight. Like
that's crazy.
Cam played 20 minutes. Like I'm not saying like he has to match Cam like
Right.
minute for minute, but he might just be better than Cam is. Like that, like I thought that in the summer. And obviously Cam showed up, I guess, the first month and a half, a little bit of the season, and has kind of dropped back to that offensive kind of baseline he's been at for his career. And Cam's been awesome, I think, defensively. I think the defense has dropped off a little bit, but I thought tonight was solid. But no, Max was so good, and plus minus is a flawed stat, so I don't like to prop it
Yeah.
up too often. But I mean, Max was a +10 in this one. Cam, unfortunately, was a -8. There's other kind of factors within that, but I thought that kind of matched a little bit how the game was going. And your Norm Powell point, man, like Norm usually cooks us. He's just a
He
bad
fries us
matchup.
all the time. Yeah.
Bad matchup. Physical guard that's high volume who gets to the free throw line. Like you look at those three boxes, and those are guys that just kill the Lakers. And you're right, Max was ready for all of that. He was up to the challenge. I thought he beat him to every single spot. He didn't put Powell on the free throw line, Vinay. Like, like
Yeah.
those kind of things I
Huge.
really look for. And was able to kind of take away his like 3-point attempts. Like while he was in the game, he had 1 3 only tonight, but like he only took one. The standing dunk though, and I know it's just a standing dunk, but I think that's important. Like he has juice when he catches the ball. Like D'Lo threw him a little nice kind of
Yeah.
skip bounce, and he was able to dunk it. That's just like it's important. Like compare that to when Vando catches in the paint, right? Like
Right.
Vando
The
catches it.
confidence behind it too.
It,
Yeah.
it's I don't know if it's confidence. It's just like he catches it, and there's that like a fire alarm goes in Vando's head of like, what's the options here? I could shoot this. I
Yeah.
might get blocked. Max catches it. Boom. I'm going to dunk this. You're either gonna have to foul me, or I'm gonna make it. Like there's like just that process, and I think this team, as nicely as it was constructed, or I guess that construction is kind of getting questioned now, but like there's just a lot of one-way players on this team, Vinay, and I feel like Max at least has the potential
Yes.
to be a two-way type player, a two-way in terms of a 3-and-D guy. And I think that's important. I think having those like guys like that who also rebound well, who don't hurt you defensively, that's extremely important. And I think it's worth investing in. I've said that about Max in October. I said he's worth investing in at least. And I'd like that. Even if you have to cut a little bit into look, Torian clutch 3 tonight, right? Absolutely
Oh
clutch
yeah,
basket.
that's an inflection. We're gonna talk about that because that is there's he is finish your point about Max. We're gonna get to
No,
Torian
yeah,
in a second. Yeah.
no, yeah. I'm just saying, like, if you're trying to, because obviously Rui didn't even play tonight, right? So like,
Yeah.
that's another wing that's about to steal minutes. But Torian at 30, that's probably around where he's gonna. I mean, I think that's probably lower than he's gonna be. LeBron was at 38, but I think there's bits and pieces and spots to like find Max Christie minutes. I just think that has to be a something that we really look into. But no, Max was good, man. He's been really solid these last few games. But talk to me about Torian.
Bro, there. Okay, Taurean was the
Ooh,
poster boy
man.
of the number one inflection point of this game, dude. He fouls Norm Powell. Okay, first and
Oh
foremost,
man.
Zubac grabs the offensive rebound over AD, who very clearly has position and just kind
Yeah.
of got bullied by Zubac into that offensive rebound. Torian Prince, it looked like he was trying to avoid, I want to say, Norm Powell. It's not like he was just like one of those ones where he was just like
Yeah. Hits him on the
blatantly
hip.
running into the player. Yeah, he was trying to avoid him. But Norm Powell has like a wide stance when he shoots the ball in general, so it's hard to avoid.
Yeah.
But he fouls Norm Powell when we're up 3, and I'm pretty sure everybody. I mean, I'm not pretty sure. Like the timeline is ready to strangle this dude
Oh yeah.
for what he was going to do for that foul, especially if the Lakers end up losing, and probably Darvin Ham along with him for playing him in the game at that moment. But he hits it. He prior to the game, he had hit a couple threes. Torian was actually playing some pretty good defense, I would say, in ISO coverage against different guys. Especially, I think they had him on Kawhi and Paul George at one point. But Torian, the inflection point is a scramble happens, transition offense, ball turns into a scramble. Torian left wide open at the top of the 3, drills the 3 and redeems himself like not
Yeah.
even 30 seconds later in game time. And I was just like, dude, oh my God. If he bricks that 3,
Oh
he's going to
man.
get assaulted before he leaves the arena, bro. Oh my God. I'm happy for him because I know a lot of people. He's one of the guys that people have said that like he shouldn't be
Yeah.
getting as many minutes. And you and I have talked about maybe he is getting a few too many minutes. But dude, he's also one of our best 3-point shooters on this team. And we really
Yeah.
haven't had a role player that's a consistent 3-point shooter. He's streaky a little bit, but he hits that. Where was your mind going when you saw
Oh
that
man.
1 minute sequence of basketball happen involving Torian?
Bro, man, I thought, so I thought, for some reason, Darvin really isn't like insisting on having. So the Clippers go out with their death lineup, right? Their
Yeah,
own version of a death lineup, which is Norm Powell next to Harden, Kawhi, Paul George, and Zubac. That's kind of been their lineup that they're closing games with and kind of running teams off the floor. And our counter, Vinay, this is where the game we were up 10. Like this felt like we were gonna win the game going away. LeBron is about to check in, so LeBron got his break. We're still up 10. And this is where the Taurean, I think, just see the conundrum start coming. But yeah, like I was just so confused at some of the lineups with that and what was going on. But no, I thought Torian had a like he's the probably the biggest scapegoat that goes on with this team, right? In terms of the minutes and someone kind of compared him to like KCP, like when KCP was on this team, right? Like where there's just a lot of kind of bonehead plays and I think he's just kind of stretched outside his own kind of game where there's a lot of like pick and rolls with Torian where I just don't think that's his game. I think he's a two on this team, and I get why Darvin kind of leans into that. I want to see a wave in it with the Austin, D'Lo, and Torian units. I just think they're just too small and they're just not physical
agree.
enough, and that's where the game got away. The Clippers went to their death unit, and we put in that lineup next to I think LeBron and AD, and I thought the Clippers really came back, but no, man, I'm glad he hit that shot. I still think there's ways to kind of. I think Torian's like a 20 to 25 minute player on, like if your team is actualized, and I just think like that's where he should live. He's playing in like the 35-minute range because of our injuries and Darvin Ham's kind of insistence on it. But yeah, we're lucky he hit that. He also hit both free throws, if I have that correct. I believe,
Yeah,
I think he hit both of his free throws as well. So, yeah, Austin missed the one. But no, that was a huge shot, man. I'm glad he was able to redeem himself. Do you like the defensive matchups that we give him? Like he was on. So like I think he started on. I don't know if he started on Paul George or Cam started on Paul George. Maybe he started on Harden. I forgot who it was, but he was on
yeah,
Harden in the fourth quarter, and I think that's just a tough kind of matchup for him. I think we use him as like a point of attack kind of guard defender, and I just
yeah,
don't think that's who he is. But no, offensively, it totally makes sense. He's shooting well. He's our best probably spot up shooter. You have to have at least one against LeBron and AD. I would like his like light to be a little less green, like make
yeah.
it a little bit more yellow. You know what I mean? Like it's um, a little too trigger happy. But no, that was a huge shot. Torian got his moment in LA. That's his first like go ahead three, I think, with the team. If I have that correct,
E-
like the
Yeah, I feel like that's probably one of our in unless he had one earlier in the season. That's been like that's certainly
mhm,
like because he didn't play the first Clippers game if you remember. Like he wasn't available for that first Clippers game, so he's this is the first time
sure.
he's playing
Mm,
against that team. So I think also part of it is just kind of him, deploying him in a certain manner. I I get it. I just think that like it's this weird thing that you and I have talked about. I think Ham does like positional minutes. Like he looks at Torian like as a wing and says, "Okay, Austin's not a wing. D'Lo's not a wing. They're my two
yeah,
guards, so they have to share minutes. Torian is a wing, so he has to play a minimum amount of X amount of minutes or whatever. Cam is a wing, so he has to play X amount of minutes. And my thing has always been like, you've got to break them down further. Like you've got to look at them and be like, okay, this guy can't defend on point of attack. And I think when we talk about imbalances, and I think the term that people like to use is slotting. I don't really like to use that term because I think it's actually I don't know why I don't like using it. It's just a term I don't use, but it's like
sure.
I've always made that thing. It's like this is not a puzzle pieces sort of thing. Like basketball for me has never been finding the pieces to the puzzle and then putting it to fit together because the picture sometimes you need the picture to be different. It's not the same picture every single time in the puzzle. It doesn't work like that. It's more like you have to recognize down to a base level what is it that this guy does best and what is like the second best thing that he does and do I need that on the floor right now with the guys that I
Yeah,
currently have out there? And do the guys that I have on the floor balance that stuff out? So I'll give you a great example because we haven't talked about him, but he had a great game. Christian Wood did a really fabulous job backing up
awesome.
AD and protecting the rim today. Crashed the glass, finished a couple plays, was battling with Zubac, had a block on Russ in straight coverage that I think the Clippers probably thought they would win that matchup, and Wood was ready to defend that matchup. So that was also good to see. Hit a big three, I want to say too as well, off a broad pass or something like that. But they sized up. They played bigger when they had weaker perimeter defenders out there. So basically, your backcourt was not a good defense, but your
Yeah.
front court was bigger. So that allowed your front. So you balanced out the
Yes.
offense defense, but you also balance out the size. And I think that is the thing that happens with that D'Lo, Austin, Taurean lineup. Your
Yeah.
your backcourt's small, but then your front court's also kind of small because you have
Yeah.
Taurean and and if Braun's not engaged, then you don't really have Braun in that one, like helping you the way that you would normally expect like a 6'9" guy to help you. But I thought the Lakers did a good job going. I thought Ham did a better job outside of that small stretch, like balancing the floor out a little bit more. And a big part of that was Christian Wood. We
Yeah.
had a stretch where we played Christian Wood and AD at the same time too as well. When Braun actually leaves the floor, I think in the fourth quarter, that ends up extending the lead a little bit more after he goes. It was Christian Wood and AD playing together at the same time, and helping kind of keep that lead going until the Clippers go on the run.
Yeah.
What do you think about that
Yeah.
idea? Balancing it out with size, and any thoughts you had on Wood from today's game?
Yeah, Christian Wood, another guy I thought could have played more, could have even closed. He played 15 minutes only, which again, when you're backing up AD, like your minutes are gonna kind of be capped at this low mark, which is why I think playing them together is actually a nice thing. The lineup that kind of made the run, Vinay, I believe, to put it like where we were up 10, LeBron was on the bench. It was like I think Austin, D'Lo, maybe Max, or maybe it was Vando. Oh no, I think it was Vando, Wood, AD next to like Austin or D'Lo and Max Christie, and that lineup
Yeah.
was like playing really well. And then to your point, like you can have small guards. A lot of teams do this, right? I think like the Cavs are kind of the like main blueprint where they play. Garland's hurt right now, but they play like Garland and Mitchell, two really small guards, but they surround them with so much size where they still have a really good defense. They have Jared Allen and Evan Mobley kind of flanking them. I think Mobley's hurt as well currently, but like when they're in their full realized form, they have like two guards flanked by a lot of size. And I think that should be the kind of route this team takes as well. But the issue though, if you're gonna play 30 minutes for Torian, then he's just gonna have to play next to Austin and D'Lo. That's just like if he's gonna play this much of the game, I think like, you're just gonna get units with those three together. Those lineups have been terrible all season, but I think that's the way for this team. A lot of size, a lot of wings. You have the size to do it. Vando again. How many minutes did Vando play tonight? Yeah, 20 minutes for Vando. That's kind of on the higher side than he's been at, but just having all like if you're gonna have two guards out there with Austin and D'Lo, flank them with size. Put Vando, Wood, and AD. That second unit, that was the best I think our bench has played in a while. Like it was
Mm-hmm.
smooth. Yeah, D'Lo, Max, Vando, Wood, AD. Wood was able to kind of clean up for a lot of the stuff where AD was pulled to the perimeter because the
Mm-hmm.
Clippers run a lot of screens for Paul George, where we just kind of mentioned all the miraculous plays AD made on PG, but on those plays, AD is like on the perimeter, right? So like he's taken out of the paint. That's where a
Yeah.
lot of offensive rebounds were created. That's where Zoo was able to kind of dominate the offensive glass. And if you have like Christian Wood out there to kind of help some of the boards, I thought that would have been nice. But no, like I think Wood needs a little bit longer rope as well. I don't know. It's just so strange, Vinay. Like Wood was getting DMPs 4 games ago. Like so we're just like consistently flipping through rotations and just trying to find what sticks. But I like the process a lot tonight. Putting size next to our guards is what freaking worked last year. That's exactly
Yeah.
what happened last year. You surrounded Austin and D'Lo with Vando, LeBron, and AD. That like you had size on the floor. Sometimes it was Dennis for D'Lo, but like you had small guards next to a lot of size, and I think that's the formula for success for this team for sure. For sure.
So on the topic of Vando, and Cam to some degree, we have still been getting sort of limited offense. There was a stretch where I think Vando attempted a couple of shots that just didn't look good. He didn't look comfortable even shooting the ball, and it looked like he didn't even honestly want to shoot the ball to some degree when he touched the ball. And the Clippers were deliberately playing off of them. They had whoever was assigned on him to basically stand in the middle of the paint. And like we talked about before, Braun was just amazing at picking apart that defense, even with the pass, out of the post and stuff like that. But that's not reasonable to expect Braun to do that every single game because teams will give different coverages and
Sure, sure.
whatnot. I've been of the mind that if you're going to be playing one of those two guys and both of those guys are going to be hesitant to shoot the ball, then you have to pool
Mm,
their minutes together. So, like earlier, we were talking about Max and Cam essentially having to split minutes, right? And the inbound. So, I think you said 20 minutes for Cam and like 12 minutes for Max or something like that, right?
Yep.
Like 32 minutes between that position. But if we look at the strength of the player, right? What is that player good at and what is that player not good at?
Mm-hmm.
How do we balance that out? If Cam and Vando are essentially going to be defending the same guy, so in this example, you were talking about
Exactly.
Paul George, then those minutes are the ones that actually have to be pulled together, not Max and Cam. It has to be Cam and Vando. And I think the Lakers have to do a better job. If there's one thing I would say, probably Ham moving forward, and obviously we don't know if he will or if he won't, but one thing that he certainly has to do moving forward is he has to decide if he's going to play those two guys and keep them as a part of this core rotation, like, until they're not on the team or whatever happens. Like, they have to share minutes together, and that just has to be what it is. There can't be any confusion about that anymore because we won this game today, but I can
Yeah.
certainly see a version of this where we don't make our shots and it looks ugly, and we've seen that kind of happen. Like we saw that happen with the Miami
Yep.
game. Um, that has to get fixed. And Cam hit those threes today, but Cam hasn't been hitting threes over the past couple of games, and he's looked really not confident in himself. So,
Yeah.
like, there a part of this? So my question to you is like, Ham wants his guys to be successful, right? And he wants Cam to be successful clearly because he doesn't want to pull him out of the lineup. He wants Vanda to be successful and we all do, all Laker fans want them to. But doesn't he have a responsibility to also prevent them from like the worst versions of themselves appearing based on what the defense is doing? And that's like the main thing for me. Like I don't see him doing that, and
Yeah.
I need him to do that for this team to be the best version that it can possibly be.
Yeah. I feel like it's so interesting because I just wonder if Vando being this much of a zero offensively is sustainable. Like, like just as an NBA rotation player, like I feel like he was a better offensive player last year. Like he wasn't this much of a minus,
Yeah,
much more of a at least playmaker, at least more of like a middle of the floor 4-on-3 kind of attacking situation where he can be a screener and his offensive confidence. And I don't know if these are just injuries that have um kind of took him to this route, but like he's not even looking at the basket. There was a big play where D'Lo hit a corner three, Vinay, I think to put us up 10.
mm-hmm.
LeBron pushed it up to Vando in transition. And Vando, I was watching him, never once looked at the basket. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like never even like, and now it worked out. He kicked it out and D'Lo hit a transition three. But like I'd like to see Vandal be a little bit aggressive. He took one floater tonight, it wasn't close, but I'd like to see that process with it. But yeah, I think Vando and Cam can kind of split utility. Like I think they're kind of the same player, even though Cam hit 2 threes tonight. Like his offensive kind of shooting and respect that he gets on the outside is the same.
yeah,
He's just not being guarded as a threat, and his 3 point shot is really dropped. So I would kind of split those two guys in terms of their minutes, and Cam's offensive kind of attacks have been just really chaotic recently.
yeah,
I don't know what happened, but that like focus and attention to detail, to put it like for this pod, like his detail on offense has just really dropped to where he's back to, I don't know, the Cam Reddish on previous teams. But the defense is still, I thought, been consistent.
yeah,
But yeah, it's interesting. I think that's where else you can kind of pull Max's kind of strengths into this, to where like having a guy that can hit a spot up three, I think is crucial, and just to give LeBron and AD some type of release valve where like a
yeah,
lot of plays when AD's in the post, and they did this a lot tonight when they were like Vando flashed to the middle and they gave him the ball like consistently. Like
yeah.
Sue comes and helps whenever AD has in the post. The Clippers like to really zone up on him, so like they'll
Mm-hmm.
send Zoo right, and they'll kind of shrink the floor to where that middle area is open, just like in a regular zone. And Vando flashed there, and he had some nice passes, but like a lot of the times, like the correct thing to do is to shoot. Like the
Yeah,
correct thing is like
absolutely.
you're at the basket. There's another play where like, not to pick on Vando, but like I think it was off a pick and roll. I think he came and set a screen. He got the bounce from LeBron. It's Russ at the rim, which again Russ can protect the rim in some instances, but like you got to go up with a little bit more like
Yeah.
juice and strength and just passion, not passion, but like just a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And he just lost the ball. I think he had like 3 turnovers tonight where he just lost it in the paint, because what you talk about, just that confidence isn't there for him. Yeah, 2 turnovers for Vando tonight, but yeah, like I don't know. Is that sustainable to you, Vando being this much of a negative offensive? Like, does that even out with his defense? Like, I think his defense is really good. he can't be a 0. He can be like a
Yeah,
3 out of 10 on offense, and that would actually make a jump for this team. There's like just baseline level of like NBA player stuff that you got to do that he's just not doing right now. His finishing is some of the worst in the league right now. Like it's
yeah.
some of the worst stuff in the league that he's at right now. So like I'm just wondering if that's a sustainable thing for him. But yeah, him and Cam should definitely kind of split their tenure in terms of what they're playing on the floor for sure. But what
Yeah,
do you
no,
think about that?
no, I'm with you. Like, I don't know if it's sustainable for, I don't know if it's sustainable in the long run. It's certainly not sustainable in the playoffs because I think as soon as he hits the floor, you don't even have to coach. Like, the opposing coach doesn't even have to tell his players. Like, whoever's guarding Vando is basically just going to play off of him, and whoever the designated helper is going to help off of him. But it's just like you're right though. Something strange is going on with him because he was actually hitting floaters last season. Like, when he got that ball in that short mid range area, like, he could just rise up and hit a very soft floater, had a soft touch. So even if it wasn't like right on target, it would still like roll in and stuff like that.
Yeah,
His finishing was much better. It was much more explosive. I don't know if I forget what his issue was, the heel issue or something like that. I don't know if he's just trying to play through that and it's going to take him a while to get through it. If he needs more rest or whatever it is. But the thing with Vando was, and you talked about it when he got the extension, this guy has no offensive ability. That means that his defense and rebounding must be spectacular to warrant that kind of contract. And it's starting to come back. Like, we're starting to see that defense come back, and we're starting to see him crashing the glass, create offensive rebound opportunities, just do the stuff that the team really needs in between the lines, the blue collar stuff that helps us be successful. But it's still probably not back to the level that it was last season. And it may take
yeah,
some time before we get there. Obviously, with the minutes, like, if he's only played 20 minutes a game, it's hard to be like, yeah, he's going to make a for
yeah,
sure huge impact during those times. But like, until it gets to that point, like, we've got to see like today was a game where I thought he was actually afraid to shoot the ball. Like, it
yeah,
genuinely felt like he did not want to shoot the ball anytime the ball was sent to him. He was just looking to pass it to somebody else, unless it was like a very wide open, obvious shot. And the
yeah,
Clippers zoo is always going to be parked in the paint. He's never coming out of the paint, so he's going to challenge whatever shots there. But like, we have to do something. Like, he has to be willing to. So that means he's screening, rolling, and then making the Draymond pass to the open guy. It is what it is. But today he didn't have to do it because LeBron was throwing it directly to whoever the open guy was, out of the post. But I don't know. Like, maybe he hasn't got enough reps. Like, how much screen and roll have you really seen with Vando? How many times have you seen Vando screen for somebody
yeah,
so that they can come off of the screen? So that's what I'm trying to say. Like, I don't know if it's a thing that, like, he just hasn't played enough or played with the right lineups per se. I think D'Lo
yeah.
and him being in the same lineup together is very beneficial because I think him
Helps. Yes.
him and D'Lo are very comfortable playing with each other. So I don't know if in the long run, Austin stays at the starting group and D'Lo stays with the bench group, but pairing Vando and D'Lo together is definitely beneficial because he'll come and, like, D'Lo just has to look at him and Vando will come over to screen for him. Vando will cut that baseline for those D'Lo passes that the slip passes that he likes to make. So I think it's good for him. It's weird, man. We've got so many new guys in the lineup. I think he's one of the guys who's probably been affected. The role players that's been affected by the new guys being added to the
Yeah.
team.
Yeah. For sure. No, I agree with that with Vando and just connecting that to I guess the final guy I wanted to really get on tonight was D'Lo, man. Return tonight. I thought, he was in control. Misses, I think, first four threes tonight, but then had the one. And I knew another one was coming. Like, like once he hit the one, Vinay, I knew one more three was definitely coming. And he takes the transition. No, 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 no. Yes, kind of three that
Yeah,
that goes in to kind of push our lead more. But I think like we missed that. And
for
I
sure.
don't mean just miss D'Lo. We miss that D'Lo, right? Like we don't miss the he had a fine box score game, but that Minnesota game, he was very dejected, is the word I use. Like, I was benched, right, for Cam Reddish. Like, you're gonna bench me? All right, this is what you're gonna get. You're gonna get very
Yeah,
passive shots. Even the game in Chicago, right, was really bad for him. So like, we missed this D'Lo, the swagger, the juice, the bravado, like just be able to go up and like have some confidence, play with take some risks. Like even as a passer, like I think that's just stuff that's part of his game that we miss. And I think we like D'Lo can't be an 8-2 guy on this team.
no,
Like to me, like this team is gonna like really hurt themselves if he kind of puts himself into in that kind of that box. But I thought he played really well. This is the kind of floor that we need for him. He finishes with what 13 and 6. Yeah, it's closer to where like I'd hope for him. One steal as well. Like I think that's more of his floor that he can get to. And even off the bench, I think he can kind of reach that. And I'm sure he was upset he didn't close this one. Got benched for he got pulled I think for Taurean, but I thought he had a really nice floor game. He was 5 for 14, which people will hang on to, but sometimes with D'Lo, it's not about the shooting numbers. Like his floor game, I thought tonight was really solid, and like him just having the backup point guard spot, be like a controlled action for
Yeah.
him. But like, what do you
No,
see
I'm
from
laughing
D'Lo?
because this tweet just hit my timeline. They asked Torian Prince about the making it hitting the three after
Oh
fouling
yeah,
Norman Powell, and he said, and Torian's response to it is, I knew when I made that big mistake, I was going to try and get as close to him as possible without fouling him. Immediately, I wanted to get that play back. When the opportunity came, I took advantage of it. And I was just like, dude, if I'm in that media room, if I'm right, I'm like, yeah, you did, because we would have killed you, bro. The fans would have that play would have been the low light of the night. You know what I mean? If we
yeah.
lose that game, like Torian just being dumb, and then as a result, Ham playing him in that crucial moment. But yeah, I think you're right. The Lakers, you were talking about D'Lo and giving him sort of his own unit, and that's essentially what it was with Austin now out of the unit.
Hmm.
The last pod we talked about Austin's shots go down, Austin's usage goes down when he plays next to D'Lo, and I think that was part of the reason why they took Austin out of that starting lineup. Obviously, everybody talks about the defense, which is entirely fair. D'Lo, Austin, and Taurean was not a good perimeter defense, and with Braun selective a little bit early on in the season about how he was going to play defense and rebound, that hurt the Lakers a lot. And so they end up pulling Austin, bringing Cam, more defensive resistance. But now with Austin in the starting lineup, you basically have the off-ball scoring guard who probably has the scoring profile that fits next to a LeBron James starting, main attraction sort of offense, which is Austin can shoot threes off the ball. Austin can attack the rim. He can attack the mid-range. He's a little bit more balanced of a scorer, willing to be balanced. He can draw fouls. He can play through physicality, that sort of thing. So I think like in a weird organic way, cosmically organic way, we've come
Yeah.
to a lineup. Maybe one more tweak with the Cam Reddish thing, but we've come to closer to a correct lineup that would make a lot of sense for this team. But I think the beneficial part of it, though I'm sure D'Lo doesn't want to come off the bench, he believes he's a starter, is that D'Lo essentially gets his own unit. There's no hierarchy questions with that unit when he's the guy who's coming off the bench. He gets to run the show. Nobody conflicts with him.
Hmm.
He gets the reps that he wants. He gets the shots that he wants. And look, sometimes he's going to take those irrational, what we would say is irrational threes as fans. But for D'Lo, those are the kinds of threes that can break a game wide open, and we've seen him do that for us before. So maybe it's just, again, better balance, just something that's working out organically, better for him.
You mentioned something in there which kind of connects what I'm saying. This is the tough part, right? You talked about this on Twitter a little bit. That got a little bit of pushback, but like the agents kind of talking to
Mm.
whoever, right? And McMenamin tweeted out today that D'Lo declined to speak to reporters after the game. So
Yeah,
he returned tonight and declined to speak. And look, do I want D'Lo happy that he's come off the bench? I mean, I don't know. Like, I think he's a competitor. He's gonna want to start. Also, like guards who come off the bench don't get the contract that he's getting. You know what I mean? So
very
like,
fair.
that's a very human element to this too, right? I'm sure like uh, the other guy coming off the bench, Austin Reeves, already got his long term deal, right? He's on a
Yeah,
long term deal. D'Lo has a second year, but it's an option, and obviously he knows the trade situation that's coming in a few weeks. So I think that's an interesting kind of nugget to this as well in terms of like the off the bench role and how much he buys into that. But for one game for tonight, I thought he bought into it as well as you could ask. But I think that's an interesting part of it too, just combining that with the not wanting to speak to reporters. And I'm not sure his reasoning for that, but I think that was an interesting kind of nugget posted out there by Dave McMenamin. But yeah, I thought D'Lo had a really solid night, and this team needs him. Like there's just not enough talent, for lack of a better word, like in terms of with Gabe hurt as well. Like I just think they need a guard like him.
yeah.
Lakers did sign a guard over the weekend. Dylan,
Dylan
forgot his name.
Windler.
Dylan
Yeah,
Windler, yes. They signed another 6'6" guard who got like 33 rebounds today in a game. I don't care where
that sounds
I don't care where
ridiculous.
you I don't care where you get those, whether that's at LA Fitness or you get that in a G League game. That is freaking impressive. So at 6'6", a guard as well, getting 33 rebounds. You know how that works. I have to go
I
watch
think
the.
he was playing for the Cavs. I want to say he was in like the Cavs rotation a little
Mhm.
bit earlier, and then he got moved down to the G League, Westchester Knicks,
Yeah,
and then we got him
he was a
to the
he was a
team.
first round pick, 2019 first round
No
pick. He was
kid.
like 26. Yeah, 26 overall pick to Cleveland. I have that correct. Bounced around a little bit. Was in the Knicks G League. Was in the Cavs G League. But has been like, I think he was solid to start and then kind of trickled off his career. But no, yeah, D'Lo was really solid and they'll need that. But yeah, I don't know, Vinay. This is a good win, but I have a hard time kind of processing that with what what transpired before. So they're gonna have to show it in these next few games. But this is definitely a
Yeah,
good start. Good team win. Hopefully Rui I think has had the worst injury luck of this year, just absolutely
terrible.
going out.
Yeah,
But hopefully he gets back.
yeah. So it's I guess the sort of the last thought, like kind of as I'm trying to think of like different things that have gone on in this game. Like we could talk about the Ham stuff because he gave another insane answer. He got asked an insane question, and he responded with an insane answer. So maybe we'll talk about that a little. Like I just want to bring that up on this, right? Like and I think I quote tweeted it that it was an insane question. So Jovan, I don't know if Jovan was the one who asked this question, but he said that somebody asked Ham this question of um, like how Ham knows because Ham likes to say peaks and valleys of an NBA
Oh
season, right? There's different
yes.
parts of it.
So like the
So Ham was
velocity or
asked
something.
about it, yeah, and he's like, "How do you know that this is a valley or a cliff that he and the Lakers are facing?"
Hmm.
So instantly, as I'm reading this question, I'm like, "Dude, this is a super loaded question, bro. Like, what do you mean? Is this a valley or a cliff? Like, what are you trying to tell him? Like, are you asking him how do you feel because your house is on fire right now? Like, because that's what it sounds like you're asking him. That's a very like I'm trying to think of the right word to say because I don't know who asked the question, and what the intent was
Yeah,
behind that question, but it seems like super facetious. Like you're trying to like antagonize the coach with this question. Okay, that's fine. Like the coach hasn't been great with his answers. The answer that he gave after the Miami game about Laker fans not living and dying over every game, like I was just like, all right, dude, you can't say that. Like even if you feel that way, you can't say that to Laker
yeah,
fans or maybe any fans in general because we are that one guy from Mad Max. If you see the movie where he's like, "I live, I die, I live again." Like that's how the Laker fan base works. Like we every game is everything to us because we just want to win. But Ham's response to that question about the valley or cliff thing is, "I don't know. I guess the velocity of which I hit the ground." And I was just like, "This is an insane reply." Like it seems like almost sarcastic. Like
yeah,
you asked me a very antagonizing question, so now I'm going to give you a sarcastic answer. So I was just
yeah,
like, this is now the second time I think I've heard like reporters kind of give like these kind of questions that are kind of very clearly trying to antagonize him. And obviously, he came out, I want to say, before the last game and said, I've talked to Jeannie Buss, I've talked to Rob Pelinka, and we're all on the same page. So until we are, I don't care about what your reports are. And
yeah,
then
yeah,
he
yeah.
took it like a step further and he said, I don't understand why folks in the media, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh boy.
Name your sources.
Yeah. So that was really good. Um, that's been like a fun theme, Ham versus the media, and I think it's been positioned as Ham versus the fans. But some of these questions aren't questions that the fans have. Some of these questions I don't like. Where did where did this question come from? Somebody in the media like genuinely wanted to ask him this. So I think that's going to be a funny thing to
Look, man.
hear to see happen. But go. What
So
were your thoughts about
look, so Darwin can say what he wants, and I believe him that like he
that?
has Genie and Rob's backing for now. I've heard the same thing from Vogel. I've heard, in
Yeah,
terms of there was another game tonight, Vinay. There was Raptors Warriors
yeah,
in Golden State. The Warriors got blown off the floor. Okay, home game. Draymond's not in uniform yet. He's on the bench. Such a strange freaking situation. But anyway, Steph Curry played. They got blown out of the doors. They got booed off their home floor. Booed. Like you don't usually see this from Warrior fans, but like booed off the court. I think down like 18 or whatever. If that happened tonight, like you could say what you want. Like I believe Darvin's ham seat would at least be starting to warm up. Like that
100%.
that pan would be warming up. Like I think he needed to win tonight.
Oh yeah.
It's a strange situation. The Colts have been weird, and there's just nothing, in my opinion, Darvin could say that's going to calm a fan base down. That's
Yeah.
just itching for a good season that hasn't happened in a very long time. Just consistent winning that
Yeah.
they were expected and told, and like kind of realized that this could be that year. And when you kind of sell that and you come up short, there's nothing he can say. Now there's some stuff where I think he can learn from it as well in terms of like taking a little bit of accountability and citing injuries when the guys injured are Gabe Vincent and Jalen Hood Schifino. Like that's just, and then your messaging with your players is so canyon size difference to where Anthony Davis and Austin Reeves are coming out and saying, no, there's no injury excuse.
Yeah.
We're healthy, and your coach is saying another. I just think there's some communication issues there, but no, he needed this win tonight, man. And yeah, that quote was insane. That was a little nutty about
Bro. Bro,
velocity
whoever.
I hit the ground with. I don't know. Like I think Darwin is searching, and um, I get it though. Like for him, I'm sure he's like from his point. Look, he's like, I was just in the conference freaking finals last year, right? There are coaches around the. I'm just in his shoes. I'm not saying this is a
Fair.
right thought, but
Yeah.
like there are coaches around the league to Darvin, I'm sure, who have not made the past the first round in freaking years. Are on
Yeah.
like year 4 or 5 of their tenure. He started 2-10 last year. They flipped the roster half the year in. He gets that team to the conference finals. They come back. He has some injuries this season. They're still like winning at a respectable rate. They're at 500. He's like, you're asking about my job now? You're asking about my job now?
Yeah.
But this is the city you're in, and yeah, you can't make statements like don't like care less. Like
Yeah.
us
It's not
caring is the
happening.
whole reason this whole business model exists. Like
Yes.
just in
Absolutely.
terms of that. But yeah, I'm sure he didn't mean it that way. And obviously fans took it as Darvin, you're not in Oklahoma type, type of stuff. But like,
Yeah. You
obviously he
don't. You don't
knows.
get to. Yeah. You don't get to
Yeah, it's not
avoid the scrutiny. But
Milwaukee.
to be fair, he did say that like the scrutiny comes with the job. Like he knows that the scrutiny
Mhm,
comes with the job, and he answers to
absolutely.
Jeannie and Rob, and that's basically what it is. I'll ask you. This is my last question. Did the play of the Lakers today on the floor in a very crucial game, one that I would say everybody, not just the fans, I would say the media was probably saying this to it well as well, that this game would decide his fate as his future fate as continuing as the Lakers head coach. Did the team today respond like a team that believes in their coach, or do you think that's
Oof.
independent of? Is it independent of that? Because I can see people saying that the reason why the Lakers won this game is because LeBron was spectacular and AD was spectacular and the
Yeah,
team played well. But the thing is that it's hard to just give credit just to the players when there are so many small like we spent an hour covering all these small intricacies that happened within
yeah,
the game and him playing certain guys. Christian Wood played really well today. LeBron played really well today. AD played really well. Max Christie played really well. Some guys played up and down, but still played well. Cam, Vando, Torian. These are all guys. The consensus feeling, I would say, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, was that these guys quit on Ham many games
yeah,
ago. So if you are a team that wants your coach fired, this would definitely be the game that you want to lose. But even when there were
yeah,
times where this team looked like they could have, let go of the rope, Clippers go on a run, go up 9 or something like that, they could just be like, all right, you know what, whatever, we're not going to overexert ourselves. We just don't like this
yeah,
coach. We don't want to play for him. But they didn't do that. So you can't necessarily have it both ways, Raj. You can't just be like,
yeah.
and I'm not saying you, but just talking to those people. You can't say like, well, they quit on him, but then they won this game for themselves. I don't think it works that way. So what do you take away considering that background?
So so yeah, it's such a like blurry line, right? Because like quitting on a coach is really tough to kind of analyze. Like when does that separation happen? And guys are still competitive to their nature, so they're still going to compete on the floor to a baseline level. I don't think it's quitting on the coach. Like I have a hard time believing. But now you were just in Vegas a month ago for the in-season tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Seemed pretty bought in then.
Yeah.
Seemed pretty motivated then. Seemed pretty good at executing whatever game plan was thought out then. You tell me that changed a month later? Like a
Yeah.
month later? But what I do think happens sometimes is like when guys see the execution not produce results at a
Mm.
consistent basis, that effort into the execution drops a ton, right? So like I thought in the Miami game, we left a lot of, or who did we just play? Not Miami. It was Memphis. We left dudes wide open in the corner. That was kind of we left Marcus Smart open a ton of times in the corner.
Hmm.
That was by design, right? And leaving a guy open, like that doesn't mean not guard him. But obviously, like the defensive kind of game plan is kind of shade and overhelp. And I thought we did that so many times where the team kind of lost faith in the game plan. And like once the game spiraled, they were like, "Look, we're not winning this game," and they kind of quit in that quarter. Now, did they quit on Darvin Ham? I don't think they quit on Darvin Ham. They quit on whatever that game plan was for that night.
Sure.
And I like, you know what I mean? Like, so I don't think these things are black and white to where like, yeah, since this happened, they quit on Ham. Like, I don't think there's like a direct line or correlation to that. And LeBron has had many coaches. I think it's hard to find the line to where when he quit on David Blatt or whoever the previous coaches were. Like I think that's a tough thing to kind of suss out. But yeah, like I think they quit on like the game plan at times, and I thought tonight honestly was a really good process game plan. Not a lot of open threes for the Clippers. Not a lot of conceded baskets. Even Terrence Mann is the guy they want to shoot. Terrence Mann got what, one or two threes up tonight? Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So like the game plan was a lot more, I thought, kind of nuanced and had context to it. And I just thought their approach, yeah, Terrence Mann, three-point attempts tonight. Um, Finished with 6 points. Yeah, so he only made two threes. Yeah, I thought the game plan was just much better. But I think there's a point though where like a team can quit on whatever your execution was, or like when we had Cam and Vando in that starting lineup, right? And I think we got the Jovan report that came out that Jovan and Shams came out with 6 sources
Yeah.
that said that the team was confused, to put it lightly, on that lineup change. And like, there's a point where they're like, "Look, this makes no damn sense to us. We'll go and play, but like,
Yeah.
you play with this already. You're already behind the eight ball if you don't believe in what you're doing on the floor. It doesn't matter what the X's and O's are, how pretty your offensive scheme is. The players don't believe it. They're not going to get it. That's why teams don't run zone very often.
Yeah.
Miami's the only team that can like get their team to like run a zone with a lot of belief and heart and passion, and they run it the best in the league. So I think it's that. I don't I don't think they quit on Darvin Ham yet. Do you? Like I don't think they've quit on Darvin Ham. I know his job is probably safe. I think if they lose tonight in a like
And-
shocking way, like I think there was a chance that I'm not sure he gets let go, but like the articles come out,
Mm.
Ham's on thin ice or whatever. I'm sure that stuff starts to really come to the top. But where are you at with this, man? I have a hard time believing Darvin's lost the locker room in 3 weeks. That's tough.
Yeah. I think, we were talking about this in the chat. Like, I'm trying to pinpoint exactly at what point he lost the locker room, because that's the part that's really hard for me to kind of figure out to some degree, because it's like something has to happen, like something very clearly has to happen. Like, so that's why I was saying, like, we were talking to the chat and I was just like, maybe it was when D'Lo got benched, there was a little bit
Yeah,
of like a sour feeling, within the locker room, not because of D'Lo specifically, but maybe some other guys also didn't necessarily agree with, D'Lo being the guy that got sent to the bench.
so the
The Laker
team
fan
rallied
base.
around D'Lo. You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't like it
Yeah,
just
no, no, fair, fair. But
doesn't
it could also be
has
because it's multiple sources, and then today's report of the
sure.
agents calling out. Like, for some reason I got pushback from Braun fans for this, and I was very confused why I was getting it. But like, I remember I quote tweeted that, and I said, now all you have to do, when they said that the agents were calling because they're concerned about their players' minutes, I said, yeah, now all you have to do is just cross check the minutes of people who are not playing minutes and who basically have a contract on the line for themselves in the future, and you'll basically, all you have to do is cross check those two things, and you'll know exactly which agents have been calling writers and calling the organization saying, "Yo, what the hell are you doing?" And we know who you and I know who those players are, so we don't have to get into it. But it's like that's the politics of basketball. And I thought maybe one of the things that was causing the issue, not that these guys had quit, but there was no belief that he was going to follow through on his words, which is, I will find a way to get you into the game to get
Mm,
you minutes. And I think what we were seeing, which is I think most Laker fans have astutely pointed out, that two starters in this lineup, Cam and Taurean Prince, I would say Cam maybe more than Taurean Prince, like they've basically had minute locks. Like they've just been always able to play 30 minutes a game
yeah.
for like, and it's not a meritocracy. It's not production based from game to game like it had been for Austin. Austin had what, a few games before he got benched. D'Lo had what,
Yeah.
a 5-game slump and he got benched. You know what I
Good
mean?
point.
Like,
Hmm.
yeah. And so like Rui's never been able to crack the starting lineup or get serious minutes. Vando, we thought that Cam was just a placeholder for Vando, and Vando's never broken back into the starting lineup. So it's like you think about the human element of basketball, like all of those things are conflicting. We've been super high on Max. The organization's
Yeah.
been very high on Max. They've invested a lot in his development in South Bay. Max hasn't been, breaking into any serious minutes. So it's like I think there was some of that where the players, 40 games into the season, which is rightly so, 45 games, they might have felt I'm never going to get a shot with this dude as the coach. Like I'm never going to get an opportunity to show that I can be better than the guy that he's giving 30 minutes a night to. And then that's a competitive spirit that happens within locker rooms too as well. And to be fair, Raj, we talked about this. And not something that I would say give yourself a pat on the back about, but we talked about this when before the season started and we signed all these guys. We said that the only way this team wins is if there's buy-in from everybody, regardless of their role, because now you have a lot of talent on the roster and guys in different contract situations. And so now sacrifices have to be made. A guy who
Yeah.
has a contract and he's locked in long term may have to sacrifice for a guy that's doesn't have a contract and is working towards getting that contract. That's why when Austin got moved to the bench, you know, we understood why that had to happen. We know how valuable, what the organization thinks of Austin, but they also know that Austin's a good soldier and he's going to not ruffle feathers to do it. Now,
Yeah.
if he is his agent one of the guys that's calling the organization saying, "Yo, you need to up his minutes," I don't know. But what I do know is since Austin has been starting, he's been pretty phenomenal as our like starting guard next to LeBron, offensively at least. And so, dude, I'm with you. I don't know if the team has quit on him, but I think the team is, and this is not a player thing. It's not a coach thing. It's really it's a front office. It's Rob and the folks that have gotten all these guys. If they made promises to these guys for roles and minutes and stuff like that, and Ham has to deliver, you're putting Ham in a really difficult position to do that. And that's going to result in players sitting around and being good soldiers only for so long. Like they're Cam's defense may be great, but if we're losing games because he's not knocking down that those one or two threes that we need to, if I was Max's agent, I'd probably call the Lakers and be like, "Yo, why not try it? Why
Yeah.
isn't your coach
No.
actually trying to play him?" And that's not just for him. It's Christian Wood's agent's probably saying that when Jackson Hayes is playing, and whoever would play behind Taurean, Rui playing behind Taurean, if that's the sub, he's probably saying that too as well. So it's a tricky situation to navigate, but the front facing guy is going to be Ham. Ham is the guy who's going to have to fall on the sword for that kind of
Yeah.
drama that happens behind the scenes.
Yeah, when we talked about this too, like earlier on, I said, I think Christian Wood and who's played well, I think Cam Reddish would be good soldiers on the premise that they're winning. Like
Yes.
that's the caveat. Like they have to be winning. All that defense stuff is fun. If we're the 2 and 3 seed, I'm gonna get my recognition. Like we're up on the top of the conference,
Yeah.
but losing starts to fester in, and like Cam is like, oh shit, I'm on a 1-year minimum deal. Like I'm gonna have to get some numbers up here. I'm gonna have to average like 10 points a game. I'm not
Yeah.
saying this has already creeped into his mindset. I'm just thinking even if it's subconscious to him, like I'm sure he's thinking like, look, I need to score more. Like I'm playing defense. It's not leading to any wins. Like why should I continue to bust my ass on the defensive end if it's not kind of leading into anything? Christian Wood's been, I think, a pretty good soldier as well. But if he's collecting DMPs and the team is losing,
Yeah.
yeah, he's not going to sit there quietly. And again, I'm not saying these are the guys that are calling, but Like I'm sure there's some frustrations there. Max Christie as well, I think has played really well. I'm sure Max looks at it like I'm better than the guy that's starting in my
Yeah,
position. Like
100%. Yeah,
I,
I can
I
100% see
can't
it.
even I can't even get a minutes left, and I'm a free agent this summer, or a restricted free agent, however his kind of contract works. Is he? I don't know if he's unrestricted or if he's restricted, but I know he
I,
has some kind of contract
yeah,
stipulation coming this summer that we have to already decide on with Max. But like, yeah, I'm sure that's the tough part about it as well. We talked about D'Lo earlier, who's off the bench now, and like just putting it blunt, like bench players don't get paid like starters. That's just how the league works.
yeah,
Like you know what I mean? Like if D'Lo ends up coming off the bench more than he starts this season, 100% affects the contract he's getting this summer. 1,000%.
hmm
So I think all those are like factors this team has to kind of get into it. My opinion, Vinay, is like this should be like a meritocracy. Like you're 17 and 19.
agree.
The best players should play. Like
Yes,
whether that's Austin and Max starting, whether that's whatever that is, that should be Darvin Ham's goal. I remember Jason Kidd, they brought on JaVale McGee, paid him 3 years, some contract, promised JaVale McGee a starter job. That was part of the report when he signed. 3 games in, they found out JaVale was not good. Jason Kidd
yeah,
benched him. DMPs, rest of the season, did not play. They eventually salary dumped him to Sacramento, where JaVale's actually kind of rejuvenating some of that um, energy big type of stuff he could do. But sometimes that's how it goes. Like it doesn't work out how you planned. And I'm not saying go back on your word. I like that's not my point here. But I'm hopeful there weren't like stronghold promises made on minutes and rotations on a team that has LeBron James and Anthony Davis on it. But yeah, I think they're in an interesting kind of predicament with minutes and rotations, and we'll see how it works out
yeah, yeah.
going
And
forward.
I think recently a former Laker, Malik Beasley, talked about how he had offers from the Lakers to come back for what it sounds like the 15% raise, the non-bird minimum raise for Malik Beasley is what the Lakers
Yes.
offered, and then Dallas offered him, but he went to the Bucks because the Bucks offered him a starting spot. And like, look, for some role players, sometimes it's just basketball. They just want to play. They don't want to sit on a bench the entire season and do practice shit and only play like 5-6 minutes a game. Like they don't want it. Like some guys want to play. Malik may be that type of guy, and that might be important to him, and that's why he did it. But he essentially said he took the Bucks gig because the Bucks said you can start, and I don't think he probably would have started
Crazy.
for the Lakers. But look, some guy like when you get to the role players, it's all
Yeah.
about sometimes you
Fit.
think to
Mhm.
yourself the superstar is the guy that you got to cater to, but when you're a team that has to win on the margins, sometimes you got to do extra stuff to win that role player and get them on your team on the margins. We said that with Christian Wood, right? Like we said, Christian Wood's most talented guy that's out there, offensively at least. Like the Lakers are probably going to have to commit something to him for him to play. Would it have shocked me if at some point Christian Wood's agent's like, "Yo, what the hell are you guys doing?" Like he signed with you guys with the idea that he'd be backing up AD or playing
Yeah.
some role here, and he's getting DNP, and you guys aren't winning these games. So what the hell's going on? To go talk to your coach. So like again, this is part of basketball. It's a business basketball. It's a humanness of basketball. Um, I think fans don't think about stuff like this. So when I tweet about stuff like this, they get very upset at me because they're like, "Oh, you just don't like this agency, or just don't like." It's like, no, this is how basketball works, dude. Like sometimes
Yeah.
there's politics within in the locker room, and there are promises made that the coach has to cash. And that's a tough position to put the coach in. But the Lakers are not new to this. Like they've done it before. Ham did it last season when he benched Russ. He had to keep Russ engaged. He had to have that connection. A lot of Laker players, Laker fans, you know, didn't think anything of it, and they thought Ham just wanted to like save Russ's career. That's not what it was. Like that's the difference between us trading only one first rounder with Russ to get Vando, D'Lo, and who was the third guy that we got in that trade,
Malik Beasley.
and Beasley, and instead of giving up two first rounders because we wanted to, fans wanted to send Russ home. Those kind of small things matter in the grand scheme of things, and I think Ham has really, really got to be smart and navigate the personalities in that locker room. So hopefully this
Yep.
D'Lo thing isn't a big deal. Him not speaking post game, but this is part of
When
basketball. So hopefully Lakers.
Yeah.
We said this a lot last season, Raj. This is the last thing I'll say. Said this a lot last year. hopefully this game helps flip the momentum for the
Yeah.
Lakers. It's a turning point for the Lakers. We said that a lot last season. It didn't come true until the actual deadline came by. But this actually does have a chance. We're still at home. A lot of go home games in January. Slightly softer schedule in January too as well. So hopefully we can string together some wins and get back over 500. That's my last take.
Yeah. Lakers Clippers last time. Was that before the IST? It was, right? If I have that
Mm-hmm.
correct. The
It's
previous
pretty
Lakers
early.
Clipper game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that one kind of springboarded the team as well. Last thing I'll have, just a funny kind of bit. LeBron was asked what he thought of the James Harden Clippers, and he corrected the reporter and said it's the Ty Lue Clippers.
Mm.
Said it's not the James Harden Clippers, the Ty Lue Clippers. Ty Lue got his stuff corrected, and it took Ty Lue 5 games. After that, the Clippers started cooking. So I thought that was kind of funny. LeBron with a little, not a shot, but a little nudge, like a little nudge at the quartet stars on the other end of at the end of the hallway. I like it. Bring more animosity in this league, man. A
Yeah.
little bit more
Yeah.
animosity. Too friendly.
Yeah, plant the seed of doubt in that locker room, dude. Say something, do something, so that we can show that they're in some sort of disarray. Because right now, it's always the Lakers that are in disarray. So,
Yeah, they're
you know,
humming.
yeah. So as always, we want to thank the folks that joined us in the post game space. We appreciate you guys tuning in live, and we also appreciate all the folks that join us later in the space or end up listening to this on Spotify and Apple, which I will upload tomorrow morning for you guys. Obviously, if you guys don't know, on Spotify and Apple, there are video versions of everything that you just heard here today. So if you want to watch it again or share it with friends or whatever, just look up Lakers Detailed. And you'll find video versions of these pods. And as always, we appreciate all the support we get, whether it's a like, share, or subscribe. And if nothing else, we'll catch you in the next one. Take it easy.